3. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Orange County School Board's regular meeting scheduled for Tuesday, September 9th. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We have present Vice Chair Byrd, Member Salamanca, Member Ferrand, Member Douglas, Member Vanos, Member Felder are present, and Member Gallo is joining us for part of the meeting telephonically. When we hear from her, John, if you will let us know, then we'll recognize her attendance. Thank you.
Yeah. She's not on yet, but she will be on very shortly.
All right, thank you. As a reminder, board members will not be engaging in outside electronic or digital communication during the meeting so that we can focus on the matters in front of us. To my fellow board members, district staff, and members of the public, when speaking, please make sure your phone is turned on and you speak directly into it so that our YouTube and Orange TV viewers can hear you clearly. We will pause for a moment of silence, and after that I'll invite you to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. But before doing so, I have some sad news, and many of you have probably already learned this, but Mabel Butler passed away just a few days ago, which was announced by her family on Saturday. For those of you who don't know, Mabel Butler was the first African-American to serve on the County Commission. In a few minutes, I'm going to call on Member Felder, who I think probably of all of us here knows Commissioner Butler better than the rest of us. Just one short story I do want to share, because this was the first experience I had with Member Butler, and something I always cherish and kind of always reminds me of who she was and how she served. So many of you have probably heard I initially got involved with county government when they decided to put a road through my neighborhood. Obviously, I wasn't happy. I reached out to, they hadn't voted on it yet, it wasn't final. I reached out to all of the commissioners, asking them if they would come out to my neighborhood so that I could show them the impact it was going to have. 7 commissioners, my own commissioner being one of them, one showed up, Mabel Butler. The only one who came out to my neighborhood, walked the neighborhood with me, met all of the neighbors that were wandering around, and that's Mabel Butler. So with that, if you will join us for a moment of silence, and of course, please keep Mabel's family in your prayers. Mabel was a woman of great faith, as her entire family is, but we all need support in these difficult times. Thank you. And now for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Member Felder, you're recognized.
Good evening, and thank you, Chair Jacobs. To whom much is given, much is required. Commissioner Mabel Butler epitomized this very saying. 98 years old, and she would celebrate the entire month for her birthday, which was in May. With her passing, we have lost a legendary community leader. She loved her community, and with relentless resolve, she championed the people who she loved and represented. She was supportive of Orange County Public Schools, where her children all attended the great Jones High. She was the first Black woman, as Chair Jacobs mentioned, elected to serve not only on the Orange County Commission, but she was elected also, not appointed, but elected to serve on the Orlando City Council. Her leadership and fight and tireless work made our community stronger. Her sense of humor, I will always remember, was unmatched. And she impacted everyone who came in contact with her. She was down to earth. She would tell you exactly what was on her mind. And I remember during her early years as our city commissioner, there was a skating rink on West Colonial where children skated, and on Saturday evenings it was considered soul night, and black folk going to the skating rink. But after 11 o'clock, the children, they had what they call something called the skin to win. So stripping. And I was like, oh my God. Commissioner Butler was an avid bridge player, and she played cards, and she played cards. So I went to her house, and I knocked on her door, and I think one of her daughters asked, I said, where's Commissioner Butler? Is she playing cards? I said, where's she playing cards? And they told me exactly where she was playing. I said, what's wrong? I said, I got an issue. I need to go talk to my commissioner about it. They said, okay, go ahead. So I walked in this big building. Some of her friends were there. Commissioner, I think, Linda Carter, I think she was there, and a lot of folk, they were playing cards. So I said, Commissioner Butler. She said, yes, baby, how can I help you? I said, they get naked down here on West Colonial. I said, I need you to do something. She says, what? What happened? So I told her everything, but my point is she was the commissioner, and you could touch her. You could go to her. You could talk to her. I remember she told me when she first got on the city commissioner, people would call her and say they don't have enough money for grocery. And maybe say, okay, come over to the house. I got some money so you can buy some groceries. I mean, she was just so down to earth. She was one of the first persons to really zero in on making sure senior citizens in the Washington Shores area got treated fairly, and that she was instrumental in making sure El Claudia Allen was a senior citizen building that was suitable for people to come in their older age to exercise. And I try to do that as much as I possibly can, to go to exercise. And she was never too busy for anybody to talk to. And I just remember I was running against her at one time in 2006 for the city commissioner in District 6. And because her family, my family, we're close. And so her daughter, I'm running against her mom, and she said, go down and let Royce make you some shirts. I'm competing with her, and she instructs, tells her daughter, make Vicky some shirts. Because when I was 25 years old, she came to my house, grabbed me, and told my mom, say, listen, I need this girl to be in politics. Come on, go with me. I want you to join the DEC. You need to be in politics. I need you to get yourself prepared to run for political office. I mean, nothing was too far-fetched for her. She was a really, really, really hands-on person, and I'm going to miss her, but her work, 98 years old, that's a long time to be living and to be as feisty as she was. But her work was, it was well done. I'm going to miss her, but she deserves the rest now. She deserves the rest. So her guidance, I need it, and I appreciate it. She introduced me to so many things in politics, and I want you to know, to Commissioner Butler's family and those that loved her, we will always appreciate Commissioner Butler and her contributions to our community. Thank you for this time.
Thank you, Member Felder. I knew you would do her proud. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We are going to move on to the agenda. Dr. Vasquez, do we have any changes to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair, we do not.
All right. With no changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Member Ferrand. Do we have a second? Second by Member Felder. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have no recognitions for this board meeting, but I believe we may have introductions of newly appointed administrators. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have one appointment this evening. Mr. Antonio Earl Cunningham is going to be the new assistant principal at Wolf Lake Middle School.
Good evening. Thank you, school board members, Superintendent Vasquez, Deputy Superintendent Armbruster, and staff for this opportunity to serve at Wolf Lake Middle School. I also want to thank Dr. Fritzler and Dr. Stanke from the middle school office for their support. I don't want to offend anybody, but I must give the Lord thank you because he simply has been good to me. I want to thank all the athletic mentors who have encouraged me to step outside of the box and take this next step. Coach Jacino Lubin, Scott Williams, David Bailey, Mark Grisick, and while she is no longer with us, Tammy Lafayette. Thank you to all the instructional mentors who have poured into me to prepare me for this moment, Mr. Andy Leftakis, Ms. Jackie Ramsey, and Ms. Chang. A wise man once said, if I had not gone to East River High School, I don't know if I would be here. And I echo that statement. Thank you to my Falcon family, Mr. Anthony Russell, Ms. Jennifer Fugate, Ms. Jessica Atkins, Ms. John, and Ms. Nikki Campbell for always being a phone call away. Thank you to the fine folks from Wolf Lake who came to support tonight. Lastly, I would like to thank my family for their unwavering support and guidance. And to my best friend, thank you for all you have done and you will do for me and Kai on this journey. I'm excited for the next chapter and look forward to the ride.
Well done. Thank you. Yes. Come on forward for a photo if you would.
Congratulations. Yes. All right. Everybody.
Come on up. Come on up. Cindy, everybody, come on up.
Nice support. It's not your fault. Just keep the arms down.
No, you can put your hands behind you, like you care.
Boy. But not too much, right?
Oh, yeah.
Good, big smile. Good, posing lessons next week, hold on. Good, one more, look happy, thank you.
Congratulations again. Hey, how you doing? How's everything going? I know, that's good. That's good. That's good.
All right, at this time, I would like to acknowledge elementary level principal representative Desiree Houghton, who is representing the Orange County Association of School Administrators this evening. Welcome. How are ya?
Superintendent Vasquez, Deputy Superintendent Brewster, and staff. My name is Desiree Hitchman Houghton, the proud principal of Shenandoah Elementary School and the OCASA Elementary Principal Representative. On behalf of the members of OCASA, we are proud to announce that we are united in purpose as we continue to explore the power of common planning and guiding coalitions. It is a privilege to stand before you as a representative of educators who show up every day with heart, grit, and a deep belief in the potential of every student who walks through our doors. We love the commitment that the district has made to our students by providing schools with a strategic way to implement PLCs that have learning-focused improvement targets. That means that students and staff are learning at higher levels. Today, I want to say thank you for providing us with a plan that provides a blueprint that transcends lesson plans and curriculum resource materials. You have given us something that defines the soul of a school: common planning, shared goals, and the culture we build together. When we plan together, set goals together, and build culture together, the impact ripples far beyond the classrooms. Students feel it, families feel it, the community feels it. Because a school that moves in unison is a school that moves mountains. In an elementary school, PLCs can look several different ways depending on the planning of the guiding coalition. For each school, it depends on their needs. Our principal leaders have made themselves a valuable resource. For example, for me, Cadre 3, Mr. Linlaw, and Cadre 7, Ms. Davis Wilson, have a vested interest in our schools doing well, and we often collaborate on best practices and how to truly think about collaborative team planning. Their teaching has been to remind us that the school is the professional learning community, and that the instructional family inside is to collaborate during common planning to keep our vision, mission, and goals alive in every classroom. We all know that teaching is not a solo sport. It's a team endeavor, and when we engage in common planning, not just as logistical exercise, but as a strategic, collaborative process, we unlock something powerful. We create alignment, we create clarity, we create momentum, and this leads to student success. Thank you so much for your continued commitment to our students. I would also like to say a special thank you to my board member, Alicia Ferrant, and Nancy Conover. They really support the students of Shenandoah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Principal. And I don't know how you nailed it to the second on your remarks, but that was pretty impressive. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. And Ms. Diaz, it's always wonderful to have you in the chamber. She's the executive director for OCASA. Just a joy to know and to work with. All right, we are going to move on to our public hearing. Before doing that, Mr. Marini, do we have any speakers?
You have 4 speakers, Madam Chair, all on the budget.
Okay. So we are on public hearing 3.01, and let's take our first speaker.
First speaker is Jason Souza.
Welcome, sir.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to see if I can, it takes a second, but if you'll just be a little patient, it will go eventually. Or maybe not.
There we go.
That a little
All
better.
right, so yeah.
Thank you so much
Do I
for
look
being
good?
here.
Okay. All right. Good evening. Thank you for hearing me tonight, board members. I'm a teacher at Timber Creek High School. I've been before this board a few times, and I'm speaking on behalf of CTA among our other interests. So on July 30th, the Florida's Commissioner of Education sent out a memo that touted the amount of money that's been committed to teacher raises and, promising us this much needed, much well-earned increase in pay. And then in the same breath, blame teacher unions for withholding that money for prolonging negotiations. I want to be careful how I address this. And we came to work. This is how we were greeted back to the school year. We dealt with parents coming to classrooms, meeting teachers. We dealt with delays. We dealt with campuses that were in some cases not ready. We dealt with bus passes not being distributed to students. We dealt with resources that weren't ready. And so we come to work. We get the job done. We start the school year. So fast forward to the most recent bargaining session, and we're anxious to see the district's proposal on salary. We've heard that there is money ready for us, and news comes out that the district has shown up and they didn't do their homework. There was no proposal. So we think, okay, well, what gives? We're told that there's money for us. What is the truth in this situation? And I know that there are reasons. There was after I have written my notes for tonight, a News You Can Use went out talking about the amount of money that's allocated for teacher raises, and there will be discussions about this. But my sentiments are that blaming the union, when that happens, it others the union as some other entity. We are the union. I am a teacher. I'm a CTA member. I represent the people at my school. I go to work. I do the work. And it seems as though the only people out here fighting for our livelihood, fighting to maintain teaching, particularly in Orange County Public Schools, as a viable career path, as a valuable component of our school system, that we're the only ones out here. So I want to borrow a phrase from Mike Leach, a soundbite. And he said at one point, you're either coaching it or allowing it to happen. And that applies well in a classroom. And I believe it applies to this board when you look at your budget and decide, are we coaching our district to value educators, or are we just allowing things to happen? There is no other option, in my opinion.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Should I put it back down? I think I might be.
Your next speaker is Stefana Farrell.
Thank you.
Not quite so tall. Yeah, that works. Hi again, Stefana Farrell, 34787. So I am here to speak on the budget, and you know me, I have been advocating for 4 years, and I will wholeheartedly put the blame where the blame is due. And the state has underfunded our district for a number of years. We have not kept up with the cost of living, inflation. We have made record revenue, and while they can say they've given record money to education, we know that it is not actually translating to our public schools. And I appreciate you all providing that information in the budget presentations. But I will say, we can't just say, again, throw our hands up in the air and say we can't do better, and we can't do what needs to be done in this moment to make sure that our teachers are taken care of, because they are the reason why parents commit themselves to our public schools. Let's not fool ourselves. We love our schools because of the teachers that are in them. And while we spend a lot of time catering to the minority of people that have already fled our public schools for their own personal reasons, I don't think we do enough to think about what is really drawing parents to stay in our schools. And when that comes to, the amount of money that we have, I know it's hard to work with. I know it's hard to make sure that all of the different programs are funded and taken care of. My own students have lost, especially my middle schooler, lost a number of classes that he really loved. I know that we're piloting cutting back on sending K through 8 home with computers, because my kids are one of those schools. I know that you're looking at ways to save money. We just got to do better, and we can't blame our teachers. We can't direct the blame at the unions for fighting for a livable wage, because they absolutely wholeheartedly deserve it. And we have to be careful in this moment. The state's going to scapegoat them, but y'all have to be better. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell. Next speaker.
Your next speaker is Anna O'Brien.
Forgive me, this is my first time speaking at a school board meeting. I don't have written notes, so bear with me.
Absolutely.
I wanted to come and talk today because there was a principal roundtable at my school today. Alicia Ferrant was there, representing District 3. And one of the issues that was brought up was school lunch. I'm a high school junior, and since going to Boone High School, entering the OCPS, I've met a lot of different people, including people like athletes. And the specific issue I wanted to bring up today is school lunch, because sometimes I go to the cafeteria and see what's in line, and it looks like strings of plastic over synthetic chicken. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's the reality. Like, some students rely on what's provided that day for breakfast, lunch, supper. And then there are some people with, like, athletes. Farrant might remember this, but there was one guy sitting next to me. He had like 30, 40 pounds on me. He says that for his nutrient requirements as an athlete, he sometimes has to grab lunch 3 times because a small piece of chicken on bread might not be enough. So I was just wanting to bring up if there could be any adjustments made in order to make sure that students have a nutrient enough lunch, or that there's enough calories, nutrients, what have you. But I mean, some people rely on this stuff. I mean, I don't, but I obviously make that choice to have school lunch instead of bringing my own, just because of like that personal expense side of it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, and thanks for coming. You did a great job. Yeah, you did.
Good job.
Our next speaker.
Next speaker is Clinton McCracken.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Jacobs, members of the board, Dr. Vasquez, and community members. I've said this before, and I'll say it again because it remains both true and urgent. A budget is not just a spreadsheet. A budget is a statement of priorities, a reflection of what is valued most. Every line item tells a story. We know that Tallahassee continues to underfund public schools. But even with those constraints, our educators are asking you, our local leaders, to send a clear message that you value the work done in our schools above all else. Does this budget reflect that? Will it invest in educators or layers of administration? Will it deepen trust in teachers or grow more resentment? Florida ranks 50th in the nation for average teacher pay. That number isn't just abstract. It's the teacher grading work until late and then driving for 3 hours each night for a ride share instead of spending time with his family. It's the veteran teacher who can't qualify for a mortgage, can't keep up with rent, and has to move back in with her parents. It's the brand new teacher who's already making a difference for students, but is questioning how long she can afford to stay in this profession. And it's the teacher who recently shared that she is selling her plasma to make ends meet. These are not outliers. These are passionate, highly trained professionals who pour themselves into their students and their schools every single day. Many hold advanced degrees. They serve as mentors, advocates, and often lifelines. They should be able to pay their bills without side hustles. They should be able to afford to take a vacation every once in a while, afford to buy a house, build up a savings and a retirement account. They should be able to have their weekends free so that they can contribute to other aspects of our community that they care deeply about instead of having to go to their second or their third job. And yet many of them are barely hanging on. We are proud of this district's achievements, our A rating, our commitment to equity and excellence, but none of that happens without the educators who are making it possible. A strong budget begins with investing in the people who do the work. Pay shouldn't be treated as what's left over. It should be the starting point. When you prioritize fair and competitive compensation first, you create stability and commitment. From there, the rest of the budget can be structured to support programs, resources, and long-term goals. Budgets speak louder than words. Please let this one say, we value our teachers, we're listening, and we're acting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCracken. Mr. Pomeroy?
Madam Chair, there's no more speakers.
All right, thank you. Just checking, have we heard from Member Gallo? She's on with us? Okay. Yeah, I don't need her to speak. I just wanted to recognize for the record that she's engaged in the meeting. All right. That completes our speakers. We're now on to adoption of the millage. Dr. Vasquez, any comments from you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's time for the board to consider final adoption of your budget for the 25-26 school year. Doreen Concolino, our Chief Financial Officer, will walk us through, and then the board will take appropriate action. As a reminder, the task tonight is to adopt the total millage and then approve the final budget. Ms. Concolino?
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Jacobs, board members, Superintendent Vasquez. Tonight I bring to you the 2026 final operating, capital, and other budgets. With me is Judith Padres, Senior Executive Director with the Office of Management and Budget, and she will present the general fund portion of the presentation. Also with me is Ernest Jean-Baptiste, Director, Office of Management and Budget, and he will be presenting the capital portion. The slides are not updating. Here we go. Thank you. Here is our agenda for today's presentation. We will review the proposed millage, proposed budget, and ultimately you will need to adopt the total millage and then approve the 2025-26 budget. When we're talking about millage rates, you're talking about property taxes, and property taxes impact both residential and commercial property. Who is responsible for each component that determines your property taxes? Just value or a property's market value comes from the property appraiser. The Save Our Homes cap is established by the legislature. The legislature also establishes exemptions such as the homestead exemption, and they determine the millage rate, which is then approved by the board. Here are our property tax values to help fund the current school year. These dollars benefit both the operating and capital budgets. Last year, we had a 4.56% increase in taxable values. The current projection, published in August by the Office of Economic and Demographic Research, estimates an escalation of 6.34% in 2025 and further increases of 5 to 8% per year over the next 5 years. The required local effort, or RLE, is a specific amount that we must levy to receive state funding. This is equalized statewide so that if our assessments go up, our state revenues go down. Discretionary millage is the maximum amount allowed by law. Because we levy the full amount, we receive $18.3 million in additional state dollars to get us up to the state average per student. The additional voted millage is the amount overwhelmingly approved by the voters in August of 2022 and will continue to provide much-needed operating funds in fiscal years 2026 and 2027. Capital projects millage is the maximum amount allowed by law to support the capital program and is now shared with charter schools. Overall, there is a rate decrease of 0.015 mils or 0.23%. This is the history of Orange County Public Schools millage rates. Required local effort, set by the state, is the red rate in the middle of each bar. You can see that the RLE has decreased by 2.224 mils since 2010, and that the current school tax rates remain at historical lows. The legislature sets the millage rate school districts are required to levy. The rolled back rate is a calculation that eliminates the impact of increased valuation. It is only used in the advertisement of the budget and in the millage adoption language. The required local effort is 4% over the rolled back rate, and the total millage is 4.24% over the rolled back rate. With Save Our Homes, residential property can only increase at 3% or CPI, which is Consumer Price Index from December to December, whichever is less. CPI is 2.95%, and therefore 2.95% is the maximum increase for applicable assessed values. With the increase of 2.95% in assessed value and a decrease in the tax rate of 0.23%, the homeowner of a $355,800 home will pay $56 more in taxes. Commercial property is not limited by Save Our Homes when the increase in property values are combined with the 0.23% decrease in the millage rate. The change in taxes paid for the owner of a piece of commercial property valued at $1 million is an increase of $262 for the year, or about $22 per month. As you can see, the budget process is continuous year-round. Remember, the budget is a plan for the year. We must adopt a millage and approve a total amount for the budget. How the dollars are spent is not set in stone, and it can be amended throughout the year. The budget summary identifies items that affect the district budget. Uncertainty around the 2026 federal funding has largely subsided. The release of federal grant funds is essential to preserving federally funded staff and programs without relying on temporary support from operating fund reserves. Still, Title I funding adjustments resulted in a reduction, with OCPS absorbing a 3.2% cut, or approximately $2.3 million. The Florida Department of Education has yet to release the 2025 fourth FEFP calculation, typically issued in April, which outlines the final district funding. Despite this, districts must adopt a balanced budget without knowing their starting balance. There was an unexpected reduction to the fiscal year 2025 final FEFP disbursement of $4.1 million. Continuing with the budget summary, there is an incremental increase in the teacher salary increase allocation of nearly $7.5 million, of which the district will realize $6.7, and charter schools will receive their proportionate share equal to $750,000. Although Safe Schools funding remains flat for fiscal year 2026, the district negotiated a 1.39% increase with our law enforcement partners to secure SROs for all of our schools. Mental health assistant dollars also remain flat for fiscal year 2026 and will be used for direct mental health services and resources for students. A new categorical fund named Academic Acceleration Options was established to replace the previously weighted FTE model for acceleration programs, such as AP, IB, ACE, CAPE, and dual enrollment. The purpose of the fund is to incentivize and support academic acceleration. The allocation is not additional dollars, but rather funding that was carved out of the base student allocation to support academic acceleration. The opening of one new school in August impacts the operating budget, and these costs are folded into the general fund. As a reminder, this budget includes funding for traditional schools, charter schools, and scholarships for students in private schools. Statewide, for fiscal year 2026, 72,653 more scholarship students were added to the FEFP. The increase to family empowerment scholarship enrollment is evident, along with a decline in traditional school enrollment. Charter school students and scholarship students combined are comprising a larger portion of the total budget. And this budget maintains focus on the district's strategic plan. Here is a summary of the 5 major funds that make up the operating budget. Each fund has unique types of revenues and appropriations designed to accomplish specific purposes. This budget includes carry-forward projects within the capital projects budget. In the tentative budget, capital projects was $2.1 billion, and now we are at $3.7 billion. Special revenue includes our food service program as well as other special revenue. And now Judith will present the general fund.
Good evening. And now the general fund. The general fund is the operating budget of the school district. The primary source of funding comes from the Florida Education Finance Program, or FEFP. Per student funding is equalized statewide. Equalization means that increased revenue from local sources does not necessarily cause an overall increase in funding. For instance, an increase in required local effort revenues is offset by a reduction in state revenues. The additional voted millage is not equalized, which means we keep the revenues generated to benefit the students of OCPS. Estimated revenues. This slide shows actual FTE for past years, along with the projection for this year, as well as a breakdown of FTE by traditional, charter, and scholarship students. Total FTE reflected in the top dark blue line incorporates all K-12 students. However, it does not include VPK. Our current projection for fiscal year 2026 is 230,961 FTE, an increase of 3,354 FTE over the third calculation of the prior year of 227,607. Based on projections from student enrollment, traditional schools as reflected in the orange line are expected to decline in 2026 by an estimated 3,000 FTE to 180,649. The light blue line highlights the steady increase in scholarships FTE. Family Empowerment Scholarship FTE was folded into district counts starting in 2019. Scholarships are forecasted to increase by 5,154 FTE to 30,617, and charter schools, as reflected in the green line, are forecasted to grow by 837 FTE to 19,696. This chart shows per student funding from the second calculation since July of 2007. We use the second calculation because that is a calculation in effect when the budget is adopted. Using the same data point each year allows us to track long-term trends. Even though funding has increased over time, the district still has less purchasing power than in 2007. The line above the funding bars reflects the effect of the annual increase to the Consumer Price Index when applied to the 2007 funding per student, and demonstrates that FEFP funding hasn't kept up with rising expenses. For this year, FEFP funding will increase by $138 per student or 1.55%, bringing the total to $9,012. This is a positive step, but still doesn't restore the district's purchasing power to pre-recession levels when adjusted for inflation. The special millage, shown in dark blue, generates $1,217 per student. When the FEFP is combined with the special millage, total per student funding has increased by $210, or 2.1% compared to last year. However, even with the additional funding support, the district still has about $1,374 less buying power per student than it did in July of 2007. Thank you to the voters of Orange County for supporting the special millage, which helps tremendously to sustain the programs in our schools. Total state appropriations. This graph represents the total state appropriations as a percentage of the total budget over the last 4 years. For 2026, the total state budget comprised of all funds increased by $19.4 billion, or about 20%. The first grouping, education, includes early learning, public schools, community colleges, and universities. As you can see, the percentage of the state budget assigned to education decreased from 30% of the budget to 27%. Although education and human services constitute the largest portion of the state budget, the legislature prioritized an investment in transportation estimated at $15 billion, as you can see in the fourth grouping. This investment includes major highway projects, including the I-4 and Beyond project. Represented in this graph is all education general revenue appropriations as a percentage of the total budget over the last 4 years. As noted earlier, education includes early learning, public schools, community colleges, and universities. This graph separates public schools into 2 categories, reflecting family empowerment scholarships separately from traditional and charter schools and highlights the increase in funding for schools, along with the corresponding decline in funding for district traditional and charter schools. The data compares the first calculation to the first calculation, except in 2023 when the second calculation is used. Traditional schools and charter schools combined reflect a decline in general revenue funding from 63% in 2023 to 52% in 2026, while FES funding for private school scholarships is steadily increasing from nearly 7% of general revenue in 2023 to 17% in 2026. Legislative efforts have contributed to the increase in FES funding, as well as enrollment shifts away from traditional schools. In the early years of the Florida lottery, 60 to 70% of lottery dollars coming to education were for public schools. That number is now only 30%. Of the 30%, none of these dollars would be considered educational enhancements. 82% supports the regular FEFP funding and 18% is for the district's post-secondary program. The school recognition program, which could be considered educational enhancement, is not funded through the lottery in 2026. Again, this year, the program is funded using general revenue non-FEFP funds. The orange color bars at the top represent 30% of lottery funds and is funding the Bright Future Scholarship Program. Now here's the breakdown of our estimated revenues by source. There's very little change in these percentages. The small federal slice represents what we get in Medicaid reimbursement and ROTC funding. Board priorities. The board has prioritized safe schools, and this budget includes funding to secure SROs for all of our schools and to pursue other initiatives and strategies to ensure the safety of our students and staff. Competitive wages are vital to recruiting and retaining employees. Recognizing that employee compensation is a board priority, and given limited funding coupled with the district's existing financial obligations, it has become necessary to implement budgetary adjustments to afford a salary increase within the constrained budget. Slide 26 includes other budget items to consider. The teacher salary increase allocation requirement will cost the district $7.5 million. The new Florida retirement system employer contribution rates will cost $4.9 million to OCPS for all funds. The 1.39% rate increase for school resource officers will cost the district $310,000 more in 2026. This budget includes funding for traditional schools, charter schools, and scholarships for students in private schools. For fiscal year 2026, OCPS is estimated to have 30,617 scholarships going to private schools to the tune of $211 million, which will reduce the district's final state revenue appropriation. Teacher classroom supply assistance funds have been rolled into the base student allocation, yet there is still a requirement for districts to allocate dollars for the program. For fiscal year 26, districts are required to allocate $300 per eligible classroom teacher to fund this program. The estimated cost to OCPS is approximately $3.6 million. Healthcare costs continue to rise at a pace that challenges the employee benefits trust financial sustainability. Despite stabilization efforts, the Employee Benefits Trust Fund remains structurally imbalanced. The current deficit already reflects nearly $30 million in negotiated savings from new contracts with Cigna and CVS. To preserve the solvency of the trust, the board will consider transfers totaling an estimated $54.5 million or more across fiscal years 2025 and 2026. General fund reserves are no longer sufficient to absorb recurring transfers, prompting the need for a long-term, sustainable solution that balances recurring revenues with projected obligations. This slide also highlights pending litigation between Walt Disney World and the Orange County property appraiser, which will likely impact the district's property tax revenues. Current estimates suggest a potential annual revenue reduction ranging from $6.5 million to $13 million. However, the final financial impact will remain uncertain until the litigation concludes and property valuation is adjusted. As a reminder, the board previously approved a $119 million transfer to the Orange County tax collector. These funds represent the estimated combined traditional and charter school repayment obligation for tax years 2015 through 2025. The funds are currently held in an interest-bearing escrow account on behalf of the School Board of Orange County and will be applied towards any repayment determined necessary. The district will collaborate with our charter schools to establish a repayment schedule. This transfer was funded through a combination of general operating fund reserves and capital improvement tax reserves. Functional appropriations remain fairly constant, with 76% of all appropriations in the instruction and instructional support functions. The district continues to have the lowest administrative cost per student among large urban districts in the state. This concludes the general fund portion of our budget presentation, and Ernest will take you through the capital slides.
Good evening. Capital Projects Fund. The total capital budget is $3.7 billion. This budget includes carryover funding for projects that are in progress. This budget relies on local funding sources as state-level contributions remain limited. The district's capital program is supported by three main revenue streams: sales surcharge tax, property tax, and impact fees. These funds are primarily allocated for comprehensive renovations, district-wide capital projects, debt service, and transfers. This chart shows the 5-year forecast of capital revenues. The light blue line represents the state appropriation for capital outlay and debt service. This budget projects the allocation at $8.6 million, which is the portion of state funding designated specifically for our traditional schools. The dollars are earmarked for safety purposes. The purple line shows the funding the state provides for charter capital, called PICO funds. As we have mentioned before, these are pass-through dollars that flow directly to charter schools. For fiscal year 26, we anticipate charter schools will receive $11.7 million, but the final allocation will be determined by the state later in the fiscal year. The gold bar shows the sales tax revenue projections. These projections are based on current collection trends, the latest forecast from the Office of Economic and Demographic Research, and the recently approved sales tax extension, which takes effect in January 2026. For this fiscal year, revenues are estimated at $383.7 million, reflecting a modest increase over the last year's collections. The dark blue bar shows the projections for impact fees. For fiscal year 26, an estimated $59 million is forecasted. This projection is based on the previous year revenue collection. As you know, we are in the process of updating an impact fee study. Once that is completed, these projections will be updated accordingly. The orange bar represents the revenues for the 1.5 capital mill funding source and is based on the district's property valuation. For fiscal year 26, the district is anticipating to collect $363.5 million, of which approximately $16.5 million will be shared with charter schools. This graph illustrates the recommended capital projects use of funds for fiscal year 26. Carry forward funds are incorporated into the budget. The largest portion of our budget is used for comprehensive needs at 58%. This includes the schools in the sales tax list, the pre-2003 schools that based on the age of their buildings are scheduled for a renovation, and schools that are being repurposed. This is followed by district-wide capital at 20%, which includes appropriations for district-wide construction, capacity enhancement, ancillary projects, capital renewal, painting projects, and site improvements. The third largest recommended use of funding is debt service and transfers at 8%. These are appropriations needed to cover our debt service obligation, the sales tax transfer to the capital renewal fund, and a transfer for maintenance and transportation purposes. The long-term adopted capital plan also includes funding for the following: comprehensive renovation projects, including schools in the original sales tax list, the pre-2003 schools, and schools that, based on the age of their building, require a renovation. There is funding to build 13 additional relief schools, 9 elementary, 2 middle, and 2 high schools. This is based on the recommendation from the Advanced Planning Committee and the approval of the Capital Program Steering Committee. Capacity enhancement projects. These are projects primarily intended to add permanent instructional space and reduce some portable instructional spaces. Funding is also included for repurposing projects at Orlando Gifted, Cherokee, Esteem Academy, and the OCPS Virtual Ed Gateway. Capital renewal. In accordance with the referendum, a portion of the sales tax revenues is transferred to the Capital Renewal Fund to cover major system replacement needs. This plan continues to fund that transfer. These are the funded 5-year new school openings. There is 1 new elementary that opened this past August. Next year, we will be opening 2 elementary schools as shown on this slide. While this slide highlights only 3 new relief schools, additional relief schools are included in the overall plan. However, they are scheduled to open beyond the current 5-year window and are therefore not shown on this slide. Comprehensive projects that are in construction. In this slide, we show all the schools that have a comprehensive project that is moving into the construction phase this fiscal year. Chain of Lakes, Esteem Academy, North Lake Park, Oakshire, Ocoee Middle School, and Palmetto are all entering the construction phase in fiscal year 26. All of these schools, with the exception of Esteem Academy, are part of the pre-2003 sales tax list. As you know, we have other projects that are on their second year of construction that are not shown on this slide. Comprehensive projects in design phase. Bay Meadows, Boone, Bridgewater Colonial 9th Grade Center, Gotham Middle, Lakeville, Lockhart Middle School, Odyssey, Piedmont Lakes, Pinewood, Robbinswood, South Creek, Southwood are entering the design phase this fiscal year. This long-term capital plan also includes funding for the continuation of district security enhancement and life safety projects, school bus vehicles and equipment replacement, including school video equipment upgrades at our schools, funding for portable moves and leasing to help manage population fluctuations. Charter school funding includes the funds that the state appropriates for charter maintenance dollars, $11.7 million, their share of the 1.5 capital mill as required by House Bill 1259 and projected to $16.5 million, and their proportionate share of the sales tax 3 program, $14.1 million. There are also dollars included in the plan for ancillary projects as well as for technology infrastructure and equipment refresh and upgrades.
And now the debt service fund. This fund is used to retire the indebtedness the school district has incurred for construction projects. The primary source of funds is a transfer from the Capital Projects Fund. The Special Revenue Fund. The Special Revenue Fund includes the district's food service program and special revenue other funds. These other funds are primarily school internal accounts and extended day programs. Other federal grants, such as Title I and IDEA, are amended into the budget as approved. The food service program is supported primarily by federal reimbursement, USDA commodities, and also from fees charged for adult meals served. For the 2026 school year, all OCPS students will receive free meals regardless of income. This initiative is made possible through the USDA's Community Eligibility Provision, or CEP. Our 4 most recently opened schools, 3 of which opened last August 2024, as well as the 1 school that opened this August 2025, cannot yet participate in the CEP program. However, we've derived a strategy with FNS to offer meals at no cost at these 4 schools. CEP is an option for school districts operating child nutrition programs and is administered by the United States Department of Agriculture, or USDA. The CEP provision ensures all students have access to nutritious meals at no cost, removing the stigma associated with receiving free or reduced priced meals. The Special Revenue Other funds restricted or committed for specific purposes. School internal accounts are used to account for monies collected and dispersed by each school through fundraisers and other student-related extracurricular and co-curricular activities. Extended day accounts are used to account for all monies collected and dispersed in support of the program. The extended day programs before and after school activity provides a safe and supportive environment for children. The main source of revenue is user fees. Now the Internal Service Fund. The Internal Service Fund accounts for the district's Employee Benefits Trust Fund, Property Casualty Loss Fund, and Printing Services Fund. The Employee Benefits Trust Fund revenue comes from board contributions for employee coverage and deductions for employee and dependent coverage. The expenditures of this fund include payments for medical claims, prescription claims, and mental health. The board contribution for employee-only coverage is $10,555 per benefited employee, at a cost of $207 million to the operating budget. As noted earlier, healthcare costs continue to rise, reflecting national trends and placing added pressure on the Employee Benefits Trust Fund. We've taken significant steps to stabilize the trust, including securing new medical and prescription contracts at substantial savings, as well as the implementation of People One Health. Still, a structural imbalance remains, as contributions are not offsetting claims costs, thus necessitating a transfer from general fund reserves. The district offers 4 plan options. The SureFit plan offers a no-cost option for employee-only coverage. People One Health, the new healthcare option available to employees enrolled in an OCPS medical plan and their eligible family members, has been positively received. Enrollment in People One Health provides access to high-quality primary care with 0 out-of-pocket expenses for employees and eligible family members. The Property Casualty Loss Fund includes payments for property, liability, and workers' compensation claims. Revenues for this fund are from charges to other funds. The Printing Service Fund is self-supporting and receives revenues from charges for services to schools and departments. Now, this concludes the other budgets. I will turn it back over to the superintendent for comments and discussion. Once discussion is complete, the total millage must be adopted, and subsequently, the 2025-26 budget will need to be adopted. Dr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Ms. Concolino, Ms. Padres, and Mr. Jean-Baptiste for your work and diligence regarding this budget. Members of the board, as required by statute, I present to you a balanced budget for the 2025-26 school year. As mentioned by Ms. Concolino, our budget remains fluid throughout the years. We make necessary amendments when required. For members of the public who may not be aware, we work on our budget from January until this time, and the board has had numerous work sessions and discussions, one-on-one meetings, and the tentative budget hearing in July. We request your adoption of the millage and your approval of the final budget. We certainly are ready to answer any additional questions and hear your comments.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. Member Salamanca, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, both of you, for the work you do on this. I know that, as we know, we've been frustrated with how long the state took to give us some of the numbers, and I think it was a historic delay on Tallahassee ever giving a budget. And so I share some of the frustrations on our inability to provide numbers in a variety of different ways. I don't know if we even have gotten some of the calculations for fourth calculation. Do
We have not gotten the fourth calculation. I did mention that someplace in the presentation,
Yeah, I
but
think
we
you
have
did.
not received that yet.
So there are still even numbers that we have not received that kind of play into how we think about this budget. And so I appreciate, one, how quickly you turned this around. And I know that we still have some numbers that are not even as final as we would like them to be. A couple of questions. So in slide number 4, where we are talking about the taxable values. Okay, so I generally, if folks have been watching the news, there's been some early signs that there's some real belief that we could be entering a recession. And I believe, at least in home values, we've started to see some markets in Florida already drop in home value, especially in South Florida. And I guess one of the questions I had, and it's unfortunate because this chart doesn't go back to '08, on how much, or this, if we went to go back to '08, '07, when things went down, do you have a sense of what those numbers were, or like the decrease?
The decrease in the property values at that time?
Yeah, like how
I would
much
have to
that
get back to you
impacted
on
us?
that number.
Okay, it would be great to have. I know that I was doing some research from the Orange County tax collectors on the historical data of '08 all the way to '12, and basically every year from '08 all the way to 2012, the tax collector lost 7 and up to 19% per year on this side. I don't know if that's how we saw it at Orange, like from our end on the board, but I think one of the concerns that I have long term is in the case of a recession and long-term property values once again dipping. I mean, we saw in Florida, I think it was 40-50% drop in property values back in those days. I don't think that we will get to that terrible of a place in the economy because it won't be a mortgage bubble this time. But I am afraid that that's going to impact us. And so I think in general, when we're looking at some of these projections, my question is, how much of these projections account perhaps on the variability versus not?
The variability of a recession? I personally was surprised at seeing the increase that is reflected from the August analysis by the Office of Economic and Demographic Research. I think personally that the next 5 years property value increase is high.
Yeah. I guess from us, and we have to do most of our projections based on these numbers as well, right?
Correct.
So we can't use our own adjustments.
I mean, we could, but in the end, our budget has to match the state and the property values.
Got it. Okay. Well, I'll just put it on the record. I'm very concerned about what the underlying data that we do a lot of our projections even begins with, because I think we as a board, and I think staff and teachers and folks that are impacted by the budget are frustrated when we miss out net on projections. But I look at some of these numbers and I worry what we're projecting based on, because I do think those chances are really high on the properties themselves if something were to happen. And Florida is uniquely vulnerable when it comes to all of this.
And if I might add, this also, at this point, there's the assumption that we continue to get the property tax. We're not sure what.
Yes, not even to mention that.
Yeah.
Which is a good question, and a question that we get from the public a lot, so I'm going to ask it, which is, if we remove property taxes from the state of Florida, how does that impact us as a district?
So I would say from the FEFP, assuming all things remain the same, the FEFP is equalized. So if property taxes go down, then state revenue will go up to that per student dollar amount. However, the additional voted millage comes to us. Of course, we share proportionate share with charter schools. If there were no property values, the additional millage is not equalized. I can't foresee what that would look like for us.
Got it. Helpful. Okay. And then on slide 26 is my next question. So the $211 million here are, so this accounts for money that goes through us, but is for charter schools and scholarship students. Is that right?
Just scholarships, and it actually is reflected in our total revenue, but it doesn't even run through us. So at the end of the year.
So we have the 211 shows up on our books.
Correct, as revenue. But at the end of the year, we never get it, and then it is not reflected. But initially, when we submit the budget, it must be reflected.
Got it. Okay. I want also that's one of the frustrating parts when you look at your budget and your bank account and you have potential income of 2 and 11, but it actually never is in your bank account. That's a little tough. Okay. The other one was the teacher classroom supply assistance. So can you explain a little bit of what happened there? On how it got rolled in and kind of the requirements just a little bit further?
So 3 years ago now, with the overhaul of the FEFP, there were four categorical funds that were separate funding sources that got rolled into the base student allocation, this being one of them, but the requirement wasn't eliminated. Therefore, we're still required to pay this amount, but I mean, we can make an assumption that the dollars are included in our BSA, but there's no transparency there, so.
Yeah, I think, this is probably one of the most frustrating parts of the past year with the budget that I will say when I was talking to families and teachers about the BSA, right? And I think this one's a good one to clarify, and I'll wrap up after this one, John. For all of us, we manage, the budget in terms of, let's talk about our personal budgets. This would be the equivalent of if, let's say you have budget A for item A, probably food, budget B for, clothes, budget C for transportation, right? Let's say we have $10 allocated per each of those. And the next year you decide you're only going to have allocation $10 for part A, $10 for part B, and your general budget is supposed to absorb that, right? So you would imagine that $10 gets taken in by the general budget. That's not what it is. That number isn't going up proportionally by that, right? So I'd say your fund money, instead of the, budget A is $10, budget B is 10, C is 10, and let's say you have fund money of $10, and you're like, okay, I'm actually just going to put everything into fund budget. You still keep A at 10, B at 10, but your base only goes up by 15, right? So the question is, well, where did the other 5 go? If you add them up, right, we're not at $30 anymore, we're at 25. So we have 3 budget lines, but there's $5 missing. And so it doesn't add up. And I think one of the most frustrating things from Tallahassee is that they keep telling us the BSA is going up. So your general budget is going up. But when I track every single budget line that is getting rolled into the BSA, we'll call it my discretionary money, the money doesn't add up.
Correct.
What's being subtracted here isn't showing up in the BSA. And so I get questions on why we have less money when the BSA is going up. And the thing is that it's not going up proportionally to what the budget line is decreasing as. I want us to be able to communicate this a little bit more broadly, because my frustration there is that it's an increase in percentage or in dollars, but it's not really proportional. And so for this one, I don't know. I know the teacher classroom supply assistant is one of those. It disappeared as a budget line. It supposedly is now in the BSA, but we don't know where that came from, right? But we're still responsible for that, and of course we will have it. So I will express that as I go through the budget line of last year to this year, and I try to literally just track the dollars. They're not there in the same way, but we're still responsible for the same amount, and so I will share that. For the public, the BSA is not always reflective of actual increases in education budget. Sometimes the BSA is just reshuffling of money to a new budget line, but actually it is by less amount of money than that. The teacher classroom supply was one of those. I will say we were very successful, and thank you to the community, that advanced studies, right? It was AP, ACE was also going to be rolled into the BSA, but we were not able to track that budget line and increase the BSA by that much. So we knew that that was at risk. A lot of parents and students and teachers stood up to say, don't do this. And I think that was a successful a way to do that. But in the future, I think this is going to be a continued tactic to roll things into the BSA and say there's an increase in that. And so I urge the community to stay mindful of what an increase in BSA looks like when the state talks about it. And I will just say I'm very concerned that that is a new tactic. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Salamanca. Member Vanos.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for this presentation. You all communicate so clearly. I really appreciate it, and I know we've had a lot of time to talk through it, so I only have a couple of questions. One thing, actually, just building off of what Member Salamanca said, the academic acceleration options, that actually currently is a categorical, which was saved, in essence, but I think the fear is that it could be rolled into the BSA, correct?
The academic acceleration is actually new this year as a categorical, yes. And that is the concern that Board Member Salamanca is speaking of.
Okay. So my question is, let's see. I'll start on, I just wanted to start on page 12. And I think this was an update from the last time, but you indicated that there was a reduction to the 25, fiscal year 25 with a $4.1 million. What was that? Do we know what that was the result of?
That is the situation, and I'll say that's likely why, although we haven't gotten any firm communication, but likely why we have not received the fourth FEFP calculation, is because there were dual counted scholarship students, both receiving scholarship funding as well as being on district rosters. And we are being withheld dollars because there was not enough dollars in the total appropriated FEFP to pay out all the districts. So it was like a proration, I'll say. We're still waiting to find out if we'll get paid for those dual counted students. I don't know that.
Okay, so in essence, it's money that went to like taxpayer funded schools, but the students were actually educated in Orange County Public Schools.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the second question was on page 15, or I'm sorry, on page 20. And I see that and you mentioned that the funding for education decreased. Mm-hmm. But the funding for transportation significantly increased. And I'm wondering, given all of the transportation issues that so many of the districts across the state are facing, did school districts get any of that money that was funded for transportation?
No, these are road projects, rail, airports, and port terminals, I believe, are included in the transportation.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. And my last question today is on page 26. When we're talking about the Disney funds, and we had talked about this before, the Disney litigation and the amount of money that the charter schools will also have to repay. I just wanted to confirm that there's no agreement of a repayment schedule, but they know that the money is due, and we have not decided how that will be repaid yet, right?
Correct.
Okay.
May I?
Yeah. Sorry, Dr. Vasquez.
No, that's
yes,
okay.
You're recognized.
So they have been notified of the amount that they should be reserving in order to pay back the debt. If they do not have the money, some or all of it, then my understanding is that any future revenues they would be getting would be withheld until the total amount is paid back.
Okay, so that would just be withheld from the tax collector.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're not, that we're not fronting
paying.
any money for anything. Okay, great. Thank you so much, and thanks so much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Vanos. Member Ferrand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, team, for all your hard work. I know it was not easy. I know we were kind of scrambling here, a few weeks ago, just trying to make sure that all the, account for some of the decrease we've had in students. So I appreciate all your hard work. My question is also on this page, the 26. Really, when we're talking about the employee benefit trust, that is one that I am definitely concerned about, because I do feel like we are losing a lot of money. It seems, as we look the last 3 years, if you will, just since I've been on the board, we are definitely pushing a lot of extra funding into the benefit trust. So that's something I think we really need to look at, how we can stop that. I feel like it's, I guess in medical terms, it's bleeding. And so we gotta, stop the bleed and figure out how we can, help that, whether it's, adding a different plan or, I'm not even sure, but that is something I think we definitely need to be looking at. So we're not doing this every year, because that is funds that we could be using for teacher pay or whatnot. So I guess my question is, what can we, if we were to continue to have to put money into that, what does that look like long term?
So we can't continue to take from fund balance, because we're getting to levels now where what is remaining in our unassigned contingency we need for hurricanes or pandemics or whatever. Things happen. A few years back, it's reflected in the book, we paid $12 million, I think it was in 2023, for hurricanes. So we need to have access. Eventually we get FEMA reimbursement, but that could be 3-4 years out. So we need to preserve some of our unassigned fund balance for contingencies. In terms of the Employee Benefit Trust, we have to increase revenue. We have to decrease claims costs to bring it in line. So increasing revenue, board contributions, employee premiums. In decreasing claims costs, we can make plan changes, so there's a higher out-of-pocket, so the trust doesn't begin to pay maybe at $300, it begins to pay at $750 or $1,000. So we have to make those adjustments, both increasing revenue, decreasing claims costs, in order to be structurally sound.
Okay. Going to be a lot of talking here soon, I'm sure, to kind of figure that out and see what we can do to help our employees. The other thing is really just a comment. I think something that I'll be advocating for in Tallahassee is trying to get this family empowerment scholarship off of the books for any public school. I think all of us have, I think we feel the same way. It's the same thing in our own family. Like if I knew, if there was always a line for $3,000 a month that I had, or a year, whatever it was, and that money actually wasn't for me, it was just there. It's for somebody, my neighbor. I don't want it on my books. I don't even want to see it, like take it off. And so I think that would be really beneficial and maybe something that, back when the Family Empowerment Scholarship was maybe more minimal, maybe it didn't really matter, but now that more families are taking advantage of it, I just don't even think it needs to be there. It creates more confusion than anything, and so that's something that I'll be, advocating for to get pushed out. And I think there are quite a few things that would be. It sounds like in Tallahassee, maybe it sounds good at their table, but then when it's implemented, it isn't working as well. And so definitely things that as school board members we could be advocating for to help.
Completely agree with you, as does the other 66 districts in the state of Florida, because that is one of the items that, as a finance council across the state, the CFOs across the state are championing to move that off of our and create a separate district like FLVS.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Doreen, and your team. I appreciate your.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Ferrant. Member Salamanca.
Okay, last two questions. Sorry, budget's my thing. Notes. Okay, back to 45, which is the Employee Benefit Trust. So a couple of things. And speaking to the last slide, which we'll maybe talk about the FEMA one, and then we can talk about the slide 45 when we get there. But you mentioned that in the past when we go through disasters and we have to tap into some of that's where sometimes FEMA used to give us and reimburse us. Is that, would they always do the total amount? Like what historically has
first
been the FEMA?
our insurance, we have to pay our deductibles, and then
For like hurricane time. So hurricane comes, we pay our deductible for the damages, and then whatever we pay. So is it that the insurance gets paid back by FEMA, or how does just like the cash flow of that in the past?
So we will pay insurance, and anything that's not covered by insurance we'll submit to FEMA for possible reimbursement as well. So we just finished Hurricane Irma, which is 2017, so it's not quick on getting the reimbursement.
Okay. All right. How much did we get reimbursed for that one?
For Irma was just a little over $5 million. I think when we had Ian hit a few years ago, I think between the insurance and FEMA, I think right now we've been reimbursed about $18 million.
Wow. Okay.
But now that's
stuff that we had paid out of our pockets that we were hoping to be reimbursed for, or the over insurance or insurance paid.
So that's the total. That's the insurance paid. They reimbursed us, and then also FEMA reimbursed us as well.
We have a deductible.
Yeah, we do have a deductible. It's $1 million unless it's a named storm, or it's 5% per building, the value of the building if it is a named storm.
Okay. I guess my concern is that President Trump wants to get rid of FEMA. I think that this was recently stopped, but I know that as of maybe 2-3 months ago, Trump administration was attempting to reallocate the $4 billion budget that FEMA has and not use it for that. So I don't know where that ended up. I know a judge paused that order. I know that that's going to be a bit, but if we don't have FEMA to reimburse this for, these are pretty big numbers. That's $5 million, 5%.
So we do have a loss fund.
Okay, what's the loss
fund? On the next slide, I think, is the loss fund, and that's property, liability, workers' compensation is all in that $78 million that we keep a loss fund for those. Some of those claims are already earmarked.
Yeah.
So these are the reserves.
So in the case that FEMA was not there to reimburse us on any of this, we would come from the loss fund.
It would come from the loss fund insurance and an insurance.
Ultimately, yes, but
yeah, no, I think I was just trying to understand how much how comes out of us eventually versus insurance versus other.
And we don't have 78 million in reserves. We have about 20 million in reserves. But still, because there are other factors or other costs that are in that fund. But 20 million is in the loss fund reserve.
Got it.
Okay.
But initially, we do have to dip into our general fund contingency as events are unfolding.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, I'll probably be asking for more of those numbers because I'm very curious on how that will go. I don't know. The hurricanes are going away anytime soon, but I'm worried that FEMA might. Okay. So for the Employee Benefit Trust, there was a point where we talked about there was about $37 million that we are projecting in savings. That is a combination of CVS plus Cigna savings, right?
30 million in savings plus the premium holiday was going away, which will bring in an additional $7 million in revenue. So that is, I think, where you're getting your 37.
Okay, so I'll just focus on the $30 million in savings.
Okay.
So these $30 million of savings that we're projecting are over how many years? Or just the upcoming year?
Upcoming year.
Okay, but these are savings we are projecting, not savings that we actually have.
At this moment, no, because it's part of the negotiating with the new contracts, and we have to see how it all washes out.
Okay, so I guess my concern is that as healthcare costs continue to climb, it eats up into these savings, but we are still projecting. Is that a possibility, or like how sure are we of these savings?
So it is based on our projections, based on hospitalization, prescription drugs, and we'll see the savings in increased rebates, in maybe better contracts with the vendors, so we're not paying or our TPA is not paying as much for services.
Yep.
But it is only for a 1 year because there could be spikes, there could be changes, there could be a COVID year, and it changes everything.
Okay. Yeah, I think as I was going through all of this, I know some of the numbers that I'm pointing out here today are numbers that we have, but feel a little shaky to me. And not because of anything we can control, but as I think of a budget long term, those are the areas where I personally have concerns on the numbers, where I think I get really frustrated when we miss projections and then suddenly we have less money than we did. We go back to moving money around. We end up having conversations where, I mean, we're constantly having really hard conversations because, again, we're vastly under budgeted for what we need in public schools in Florida. But yeah, I'll spend more time with you all on some of these numbers.
So I will just add publicly one other thing. The $30 million is not revenue. The $30 million is like a reduction to claims.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, no, I got that.
Okay.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Member Salamanca. Member Felder.
Thank you, Chair. Again, Doreen and company, thank you so much. And you've been with me at some of these questions that I've asked and tried to get some clarity. In listening to my colleagues on the board, this is it's beyond frustrating. I just don't have words, and I'm an English teacher. I cannot find the words to explain this frustration. But let me just make sure I'm clear, because I know there are people listening. So the funds we have in contingency, I'm looking on page 26, because we talked about a lot of that. Will the contingency fund, will this ever affect our ability to pay teacher salaries? Because I do understand that when you have a savings, a lot of people, we say we have savings, but if you keep going into savings every month or whatever, you're not going to have any savings. So when a real rainy day comes, and actually the rainy day is here, but if it starts coming, we won't have anything. And it's always been this board's concern, the teacher salaries, and plus to be able to function, this district to function like we should. We are a high functioning board. This is the 4th largest district in the state, the 8th largest in the nation. And we're struggling with this money, this whole thing about having money on paper, but not really having it. That to me is so deceptive, and it's just wrong to do that. So you may not be able to answer this, but right now it seems like we're, doing what we need to do, having it. But will there ever be a time we have to do that?
So two things. Contingency is like our savings account.
Yeah.
So that's non-recurring, right? Those are dollars we have for emergencies, rainy day. We've contributed to the Employee Benefit Trust numerous times. Teacher salaries are a recurring, as our benefit costs are a recurring cost.
Okay.
That is paid for through the FEFP, as well as the special millage is more than 10% of our total operating budget right now. Certainly, with declining enrollment, we're concerned about
getting the money because we don't have the students in the class.
Correct, and therefore we have to look at preserving resources because we don't have enough funds in our rainy day fund to be able to continue to pay people when we're not getting the revenue.
When you say remaining resources, could you give me an example? What are the remaining resources?
So resources are, for the most part, people, staff.
Okay.
Teachers, support staff,
okay,
etc. If the students are not here, then we have to reduce staff because we have to reduce our recurring costs.
Okay, so some of the board members said that we need to revisit with the state how we're having to. I think board member Farrant talked about maybe we need to, instead of asking us to give that money, we need to keep the money they say that's ours instead of going into. I think you said to. Not private schools, but what did you say about was it the private schools, that money? The scholarships, yeah. I think the public need to, just like they rallied, as Board Member Salamanca said, going about those AP classes, make sure that they stay. I think the public needs to understand the dire straits that we're in and deal with their representatives and go to Tallahassee. We're fighting, but we need more fight from the people, because if you challenge them, your seat is going to be taken. I'm going to run for your seat. You're going to get out of this position because you're not doing what's benefiting the whole of the people in the state of Florida. Especially when it comes to education. I think that would be a big help to us, because we are seriously robbing Peter to pay Paul. And Peter is running out of money. Because we don't have it. We're just trying to, and your group, your department is doing very well. And our superintendent at Daly is trying to talk with budget and talk to us and see how we can move things around, because nobody wants anybody to lose their job. I believe most of our teachers that are here, they're here because they want to be here. They're not drawn by the money. They're here, they're drawn by passion that just is indescribable for them, and they want to do it. So I just think that, okay, we have everything enough right here, right, Doreen? But we don't know about next year. Or do we know about next year?
Well, this year is a bit uncertain, too, because we have to wait for the October survey to truly see the students that we have here. We've just done the 10-day enrollment, which has given us a snapshot. It's not encouraging, and it definitely reflects less revenue coming in.
Okay. All right. I just want to be clear. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Felder. Member Farrant, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to clarify to help, maybe help you, Member Felder, with the Family Empowerment Scholarship. If you look at it at like FLVS, for instance, so we never say that we're losing money in our budget because students are going to FLVS, right? Or that FLVS is stealing from the public schools. So in the same way, the scholarships, it's similar, if you will, to like an FLVS. And that's where I think we need to just advocate for that to be its own separate entity, if you will, like FLVS, because those students, the 30,000 plus students are not part of, they're not attending a public school but for some reason the state's, well, just like FLVS students are. So those students are not attending the public schools, and so that's why we're asking for that entire item to just be removed from our books, because just like FLVS isn't showing up on our books because they're their own entity. That's, I think, what we're, for myself, that's what I would like to advocate for, that it would be its own entity.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Member Front. Member Vice Chair Byrd.
Thank you. Yeah, I can you pull up slide 21 real quick? Because I can tell you right now why the state does it this way. Because if they didn't do it this way and they pulled the Family and Power Scholarship out like they did FLVS, then they would have to actually show the public the way they're funding public education in the state over the last 4 years. And if they went to the public and said, look, we're decreasing public education every year, people would be outraged. But because they throw in the Family Empowerment Scholarship in our budget, then they can go to the public and say, hey, look, we're the greatest administration for education ever to be in Florida. Look at all the money we've put into education in the past 4 years. That's exactly why they're doing it. And if you were to magically somehow talk them into pulling it out, it would be a miracle. And I think the only way that would happen is if somehow they would fund traditional and charter schools again. And that doesn't seem to be likely. But anyway, that was just my little tidbit on that. Because it's a perfect, if you put that graph on top of the other graph, it perfectly illustrates where our money is going. So, oh, never mind. I thought we were ready for a motion, but I guess not. That was all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Member Douglas.
Yes.
Don't remember which slide it is, but I just would like you to notice the numbers. I think it's 16 with the Florida Empowerment Scholarship, the numbers.
No, that was 26, right? 26.
No, it's not this, the one with the different, right, that's one, that one. I just would like you to notice the numbers. The Family Empowerment Scholarship, $211 million. When you compare to all the other money that we're spending, teacher salarying 7.5, Florida retirement 4.9, and we have this amount of money just for the vouchers, $211 million. That money can make so much difference in public schools. $211 million. To me, it's outrageous, absolutely outrageous. And they want us to put it, just like Member Byrd said, $211 million, it looks good. Oh, we are spending so much money on people in Florida. But that's not public school. No. These are not our kids. This is outrageous. The problem is not us. I would love to have this money coming to public schools. Please, we need to advocate at the legislature in Tallahassee for this type of issues that we're having right now. I just don't understand. It's outrageous. I forgot my other questions. It's just outrageous. I'm sorry. I'll come back when I remember. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Vanos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just did want to just take this opportunity just to respond about about FLVS, because FLVS does in fact decrease funding to our public schools. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. I just want to give a quick example because this issue came up and I just want to clarify it so that our public understands. But if you have a high school student, let's say, that takes a full 7 classes at their high school, and then they take an additional class at home on FLVS, well, FLVS gets funding, and even though they're taking a full load of classes at their high school funding gets pulled to reflect that additional amount that went to FLVS. Correct?
You are correct. I believe where Board Member Ferrand was going was the dollars that go to FLVS are not then reflected as part of our revenue.
Yes.
And separating or removing Family Empowerment Scholarship from our state revenue, such as with FLVS. I think that's where you're
yes, and I totally agree with Member Ferrand. It should be separated. I do agree with that, but I just wanted to point out that
we do
FLVS
lose,
actually,
yes.
when a student does
Yes.
take an FLVS class, even if they have a full class load, it is decreasing our funding to our school district. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Member Vanos. Just a few observations. Member Ferrand brought up the issue of transparency with respect to the family empowerment funding. And I think it's one thing that I would hope, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, that everybody should be able to agree that transparency is better than the opposite. And the same, I think, would be true when it comes to whether you're talking about teacher salary increases or you're talking about the classroom supply.
Mm-hmm.
All of that being now merged into the BSA, as Member Salamanca so eloquently pointed out, is a great way of hiding the ball and being able to say we've increased this or we've increased that, but you don't see the whole picture that you used to see with these different allocations. I struggled to understand why they started merging those, but it's starting to become a bit more.
The reason,
Yeah.
if I may, I believe, was to provide districts more flexibility.
Okay. Except for they tell us how to spend the money.
Exactly.
Okay, so that part kind of went out the window. Well, that's what I do remember hearing that. It just doesn't, it seems like an oxymoron to say we're going to give you more flexibility, but we're going to tell you exactly how you have to spend the money.
100%.
And before they started doing that, we actually had flexibility in the BSA. We have less flexibility in the BSA. But more confusion. And with more confusion, it's highly detrimental to trust. And not just the trust between the district and the state, but the trust between the district and the employees. And the most harmful thing I think you can do to morale is to build distrust between employees that work here who have elected people to serve on this board to fight for them. That would be, to me, very demoralizing. And I can tell you, sitting in this seat, I can speak for, I think, every single one of us. It is a painful experience to not be able to fix the problem you ran for office to fix. And to see year after year the cost of living go up more than the revenue we take in or the salaries we're able to pay our employees. Now, I will say there are times when we have exceeded the cost of living. We've had several years where we've done that, but we have not had that revenue coming from the state. And so the bigger problem than transparency is just a simple matter of not funding education. And this board has worked very hard, as has CTA, our employees, to advocate for that funding. And one of the sad realities is that we're pretty powerless because right now our legislative delegation are hugely supportive, but unable to turn the tide. So that's all bad news, and I apologize that I don't have good news, except that the only thing that we can do is to stay in the arena and keep fighting together and doing everything we can to make sure that we are as transparent as we can be, so that we do everything we can to maintain the trust. We may not be able to turn the tide tomorrow, but we cannot sacrifice the trust. So that's what I'd like to see us continue to work on as we continue to work on changing the state, changing the leadership, changing the values. I hear conversations and I understand the concerns about what you value, you fund. What you value, you measure. And I just don't see that happening from the top down right now. But with that said, Dr. Vasquez, you're recognized, and then I think we'll take up the vote on the budget.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board Member Gallo was, I believe, on and had to step off, but she has asked that this comment be read into the record. I continue to be concerned about us floating the money for charter schools in reference to the Disney money. As we look to the future and determine how we're going to save money, it will include reimagining schools, and this will come at a cost to our students. While this is unfortunate as a board member, I continue to prioritize teachers and teacher pay. I'm supporting the budget this evening, but we'll continue to look for ways to pay our teachers what they deserve.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to recognize the Vice Chair for a motion.
Certainly. Okay. Whereas Section 200.065 Florida statutes requires that the school board adopt a total millage to support the final budget and notify the property appraiser of its action, and whereas the 2025-26 final budget is based upon a total millage of 6.449 mils, which is more than the rollback rate by 4.24% as computed pursuant to Section 200.065 Florida statutes. Now therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Orange County, Florida, that the board does hereby adopt the following total millage to support the final budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. Required local effort, 3.201. Basic discretionary, 0.748. Additional voted, 1.000. Capital improvement, 1.500, for a total of 6.449. Be it further resolved that the superintendent immediately inform the Orange County property appraiser of the action of the school board in the manner prescribed by law.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Member Felder. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We don't have Member Gallo on the line. Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Vice Chair? I'm sorry, we are now on item 3.02. And I don't think no further comment from Chief Financial Officer. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Here's the motion for the budget. To approve the 2025-26 budget for the general fund, $641,038. Approve the 25-26 budget for the special revenue fund of $340,234,735. Approve the 2025-26 budget for the debt service fund of $223,810,903. Approve the 2025-26 25-26 budget for the Capital Projects Fund of $3,735,929,315. Approve the 2025-26 budget for the Internal Service Fund, $413,080,418.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? All right, motion by Vice Chair, seconded by Member Felder. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Do we already have Member Gallo's vote? I'm sorry, thank you. Okay, we are now on the consent agenda. We have any comments, speakers on the consent agenda? Mr. Palmerini. All right, thank you. If there's no comments from the board, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Member Vanos. Is there a second? Second by Member Salamanca. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? We have Member Gallo's vote on that as well? Okay. Motion carries with all members present voting in the affirmative. And that brings us to the superintendent's report. Dr. Vasquez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 3 items that I would like to report out today. As was mentioned at the last board meeting this year, we've experienced a more significant decline in enrollment than anticipated. We projected a decrease of approximately 3,000 students, but our 10th day count shows a drop of more than 6,600, including a decline of about 2,500 students who are immigrants. This unexpected shift has a direct impact on our school resources. And so every year at this time, our schools go through the recalculation process, which allows us to readjust enrollment based on projections. Those schools that have gained more students than projected receive additional dollars and allocations. And on the flip side, those schools that have come in under enrollment lose dollars and allocations. So within the next few days, teachers and support staff will be notified of any reassignments due to the recalc process. While the news is never good when you have to cut individuals, we are looking at 116 instructional school-based positions that are looking to be reassigned, and we have 157 vacancies. Part of that is due to the fact that we put a freeze on, we froze any of the positions that we were in the process of hiring, which allowed us to retain more of our existing staff. And while we hope that it's a one-to-one match, it will depend on the certifications teachers have. Additionally, and so teachers will be notified on the 12th of their reassignment. On the 19th, they will begin their new assignment. Our support staff is also going through a similar process. We do not yet have all of the numbers, but we will notify our principals on the 18th of any classified staffs that need to be reassigned. The personnel will be notified on the 19th of September, and they will report to work on the 29th. And so we're hopeful that we are going to be able to keep most of our staff pending their certification. We will also be notifying our families tomorrow as they may see an impact, either their child gets a new teacher because there's been a reduction, or their child gets a new teacher because they've had an increase and they are creating new classes. This has been a busy couple of weeks. So we heard the news about the state of Florida and vaccines, and I want to make sure that our community are parents, teachers, and staff understand where we are on this. And so we remain steadfast in our commitment to the health, safety, and academic success of every student. And as changes to Florida's vaccinations laws unfold, we want to reassure families that we will continue to follow both the science and the law in guiding our practices. Immunizations are a well-established tool for preventing the spread of disease, reducing disruptions to learning, and protecting the broader school community. While we respect individual health choices, we will strongly encourage our families to consult with trusted healthcare providers and continue providing recommended immunizations for their children. As state guidelines evolve, our staff will promptly update district protocols to ensure full compliance. We will also continue working closely with local health agencies to provide families with accurate information and convenient access to vaccinations. Together, we will continue to build a healthier, more resilient future for our students and our community. And finally, as you know, Dr. Bridget Williams has been working steadily on attainable housing, and it's amazing how she continues to find partners that want to assist. And so our continued goal is to partner with community stakeholders to expand access to attainable workforce housing opportunities for OCPS employees. We are pleased to share that OCPS and Concord Rents have joined forces to support OCPS families and staff through affordable and attainable housing solutions. Yes, good. They have the display up on the screen. The information displayed on the screen is designed to help ensure our employees are well positioned for success in securing housing. Concord Rents currently manages 22 apartment communities with at least one located in each board member's district. We extend our sincere thanks to Concord for proactively reaching out to OCPS to initiate this partnership. As part of this collaboration, Concord Rents will offer the following benefits to OCPS employees: a 50% discount on application fees, a $250 off moving cost. If the selected property is already offering promotional pricing, OCPS faculty and staff will receive both discounts. Select units are reserved based on income eligibility, ensuring access across income levels. And a coupon code will be distributed through school principals to distribute to their staff. Employees should use this code when completing their application to receive the exclusive discounts and promotions. And I believed that we are joined this evening by John Michael Fernandez. Thank you. The Director of Local Government Affairs for the Florida Apartment Association and a member of the OCPS Workforce Housing Advisory Board. John Michael played a key role in connecting OCPS with Concord Rents, and we thank him for his support. Mr. Fernandez, thank you so much. And you have a few minutes to say a few words.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Superintendent, Chair Jacobs, members of the board. As you already know, my name is John Michael Fernandez, Director of Local Government Affairs for the Apartment Association of Greater Orlando, member of the School Board's Housing Advisory Board, and also chairman of Orange County's Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. So we're pleased to see this great example of a public-private partnership with OCPS and Concord Rents. This agreement provides priority to OCPS teachers and staff at over 20 apartment communities across the community, with added benefits of application discounts and move-in assistance. The Apartment Association was pleased to connect OCPS with Concord Rents, and we hope to emulate this effort across the board in the future with other members of ours. And we appreciate the steps that OCPS has taken to address the housing affordability challenges our community is currently facing. We look forward to continue our work with OCPS and our other members to ensure more housing options are available to teachers and staff. To put this in perspective, according to research from the Florida Apartment Association, Orange County is in need of over 57,000 apartment homes by 2030. You can find that at buildflorida2030.com. Sorry, shameless plug. But we appreciate your work, again, that you do for Orange County and our schools, and look forward to working further. And a special thank you to Deputy Superintendent Bridget Williams for all her hard work and getting this done. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That's my report.
Thank you for the partnership, and thank you for all that support. We do appreciate it, and our families and teachers do as well. Mr. Pomeraney, do you have a report for the board?
I'm going to thankfully for the board say I have no report tonight.
Bless you. Thank you, Mr. Pomeraney. I do have one report, which the board is familiar with. The superintendent's evaluation has been completed. The recommendation of all members of the board was to renew her contract. Therefore, her contract is hereby renewed. Do we have any other board members that have either committee reports or issues they'd like to put in front of the board for future discussion? Okay. All right. With that, this meeting, I'm sorry. Thank you. Member Vanos?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of things I wanted to bring up. First of all, I just want to say I appreciate the superintendent's comments about the recent news regarding vaccines. I think it's really important for our community to get accurate information and to make sure that we continue to provide our community with access to vaccines. So thank you for making that statement. I also wanted to comment, there was a student who came up during comment, and as she was commenting, I made an audible noise, and it was because the way that she was describing the food is the same way that my children describe the food. So I was just sort of laughing at the commonality. And so in case that student is watching, I just wanted to say thank you for coming and for speaking tonight and for speaking up on an issue that you care about. And I'm really thankful that we are able to provide free breakfast and lunch for our students. Hopefully the quality and quantity continues to improve over time. But I just wanted to make sure that student knew that I was relating to what she was saying in my response. I also wanted to, one of the issues, on something on the consent agenda that I wanted to raise was the statewide assessment calendar. And I would encourage parents to take a look at that. It's linked in the agenda. Our students spend a lot of time testing. I think I'd noted that 5th graders spend about 21 hours doing standardized tests a year. 7th graders spend 29 hours doing standardized tests a year. And I'm hopeful that some of that comes from state requirements. The assessments went from once a year to 3 times a year. And for some of those statewide assessments, there are 3rd graders that are spending 90 minutes on a test, 5th graders who are spending 120 minutes on a test. Some of those requirements are from the district, and I hope that over the next year we can work with our CTA and our teachers to hopefully decrease some of those district-wide tests and the CFEs. There was a lot of talk today about transparency, which I agree with, and I am glad that we have board support for some of those measures. I would also like to, again, just say that something that I will personally be pushing for is that all schools that receive public money should be subject to sunshine laws so that we can see what they're doing. Everyone deserves to see that information. The last thing I wanted to bring up was to end on a really positive note, which was also in the consent agenda. There was a grant with the Winter Park Health Foundation. And I just wanted to call out and thank the Winter Park Health Foundation for being such a great partner for Orange County Public Schools. This foundation provides nurses in 4 schools in my district, Audubon, Glenridge, Hungerford, and Winter Park High School, as well as some mental health counselors. So I hope that their financial contributions and help in our school inspires other health organizations and local businesses to do the same. So thank you to Winter Park Health Foundation. That's all.
Thank you, Member Vanos. I'm glad you brought up the young woman who was here. I don't blame her for leaving, but at the same time, I felt bad because there wasn't an opportunity. She got applause, which I was appreciated. Everyone in the audience who recognized how difficult that was for her and how proud we were of her standing up and speaking. And I also want to recognize when you talked about testing, you got a strong affirmative from the young woman in the back. At the same time, that was and has been an important issue to the board. And I know the superintendent will enjoy being able to give a presentation on progress we've made and where we are with regard to testing. The one question I think I had, though, on the food service, I'm not sure if you had an opportunity to attend, but Food and Nutrition Service does a pretty amazing job with this event. And they bring all these chefs that are competing to be able to provide their food service. And it's, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, you go and you test at each table, and we bring kids from elementary, middle schools, and high schools through. And they all get marbles, like a red marble, a green marble, if I'm getting this right. And they go to each station, and they can give a marble to indicate whether they like or don't like the food. And I've gone each year. The food's like pretty incredible. So based on that, I was surprised to hear her comments. And it's not the first I've heard that, but I'm trying to figure out the disconnect there. Dr. Vasquez?
Well, the disconnect is that we all have different tastes. And so while some individuals love vegetables and could eat vegetables breakfast, lunch, and dinner, there are some that they don't want anything green on their plate. I do think, and I do have her name so that we can reach out to her. And Roberto's team, Mr. Pacheco's team does a great job of getting feedback from students. But they have done a lot to incorporate student choice and taste as part of the menu items, and so we'll continue to accept their feedback. And sometimes, it's they might have had a cold meal, or they may have something that they really have not found an acquired taste for. I've had school lunch on a couple of times, in fact. The school board has on occasion had lunches or dinners that FNS provides, and so it certainly has improved. They do have certain requirements that you may or may not agree with, and I'm sure all of that contributes to it. But we'll follow up. Always want to hear from our kids, and I love that they are advocating, that they are coming before us to let us know how we can make their experience better. And what a great testament to public education.
And I'm going to recognize Member Front in just a second, but she probably filled out a speaker's card. Great. So we have an email address, most likely, so that the board members can reach back out to her, because we didn't have that opportunity to thank her individually. Member Front, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm actually so surprised. I was surprised to see her, because we did this little like a student town hall at Boone High School today. Really amazing, great group of kids, a lot of different backgrounds, everybody there sharing just their thoughts, things that they thought were going amazing, which something that they felt was really going amazing is that they felt like there was a lot of support from the students, like SGA, and come to find out that for Boone High School, it's been typical to have maybe 50 or 100 students in SGA, and this year they have a little over 200 students involved in SGA, which is really, really incredible, super cool. And so they've got, I think they said they had 12 different how do you say it? Like subgroups, yes. Committees, thank you. And so within those committees, they're meeting, and that has been, the students really reflected on that and said that it's really helping to bring that unity and help kids feel like they are understanding. And so when this young lady had brought up, I don't even know that she brought it up. I think it was the boy next to her that was saying he was an athlete and really needs to eat more, which, okay, just teenagers in general need to eat more than adults. Like my kids eat me out of house and home. My 10-year-old eats way more than me. But, you know, when you look at athletes as well, it is something I would love to see, because we've got kids that are, I mean, they're like starving just in general. And then the portion size we're giving is like maybe for me and not really for like a big football player kid. So maybe to see if there is a way, if there's extras, are they able to go back and get seconds? Those are some things that I think would be great to look at. But super proud of this young lady for coming. I know it's so nerve-wracking to speak in front of everyone, but I love that, you know, they, right afterwards they said, so, you know, could we ever go to a meeting and share about this? And I said, absolutely, there's one tonight. And she said, well, where is it? And here, lo and behold, she showed up. So really, really cool to see them advocating for their peers. Super excited. And I will note, it's kind of like picture, so when you ask like what's the difference between that special event, it's kind of like when I ask for people to come over and I'm like, you know, I want to host somebody, I'm going to like prepare my best meal. But throughout the rest of the week, I'm serving stuff that's like maybe quick and easy and things that might not be as, you know, glamorous as the meal that I serve for people that are coming. And so I think that can be part of it. Those meals are served. Because I know my kids would come home and say, well, I really love maybe like there's an Asian dish that they make and the kids love it. But they can't serve that every day. And so some of the other ones that they serve, which seems to be like the chicken patty or the chicken nuggets, they serve like, you know, a smaller portion of that and the kids are, you know, still hungry. And so I think if there is a way, like rice is, to me, rice is cheap and easy, like a, you know, Spanish rice, or is it, yeah, rice and beans, or, you know, there's maybe different things that we could look at that could be more of an abundance and kids could go back up for seconds for something like that that's cheap. Spaghetti is one that's, I mean, it's a staple in my house because you can go back and, yeah, macaroni and cheese, like those types of things that maybe we could give seconds to kids who are hungry for seconds.
I see Dr. Vasquez taking it all in. Members, Vanos, you're recognized.
And I just needed to say that all of the food that I have had from FNS has been amazing. I wanted to make sure I said that. It's been very, very good, both at Leadership Orange and through here. So it was, I was just recounting, I think, some of the recognition that we've had with some of our student lunches. But I need to go eat lunch with the kids, and then I can, you know, yeah, have a better idea. So thank you.
Yeah, like a secret shopper. There you go. Okay, nothing further from the board, then this meeting is now adjourned.
That was good.